Welcome to Forever in Our Hearts. I'm Matthew. Here, we reflect on the lives of remarkable individuals whose presence changed the world in meaningful ways. Their creativity, strength, and passion continue to inspire millions. Join us as we revisit their journeys across entertainment, culture, and beyond, honoring memories that will live on for generations. Ace Frehley, born on April 27, 1951, is widely known as the original lead guitarist of the iconic rock band Kiss. With his unforgettable spaceman persona, he helped shape the band's identity during their explosive rise in the 1970s, when music and performance began blending into something far more theatrical and bold. What made Frehley stand out was not technical excess, but feel and attitude. His guitar work carried a raw, melodic energy that was both simple and powerful. Solos in tracks like Shock Me and Detroit Rock City were never overly complex, yet they became instantly recognizable and deeply memorable. That balance of grit and melody became a core part of Kiss's classic sound. Beyond his playing, Frehley helped transform live rock shows into full-scale spectacles. His creative stage effects, from smoking guitars to dramatic visuals, added a sense of showmanship that set the band apart in a highly competitive era of rock music. These performances helped define what a Kiss concert experience truly meant for fans. Even through lineup changes and time away from the band, his influence remained closely tied to Kiss's identity. Many listeners still associate the group's most defining era with his expressive and attitude-driven guitar style. Outside the band, he explored solo projects and later reunions, continuing to evolve as an artist. His work is often remembered not just for skill, but for personality and originality. And today, Ace Frehley stands as one of rock's most recognizable and influential guitarists, leaving behind a legacy built on sound, style, and pure stage presence. Bill Moyers is remembered as one of the most thoughtful and respected figures in American broadcast journalism. Born on June 5, 1934, he built a career defined by calm presence, deep reflection, and a rare ability to make complex issues understandable without losing their depth or meaning. Throughout his professional life, he helped shape public conversation in a way that encouraged awareness and understanding. Whether addressing politics, culture, or social change, he approached every subject with patience and careful questioning. His work invited audiences to slow down, listen closely, and think more deeply about the world around them. What set him apart was his commitment to integrity and storytelling. In an era often driven by speed and sensation, he chose a more measured approach. His interviews were known for their openness, allowing guests to express ideas fully and naturally, creating space for honest and meaningful dialogue. Even in his later years, he remained an influential voice, continuing to inspire journalists and viewers alike. His work became a model for how media can inform while still respecting the intelligence of its audience. Bill Moyers passed away at the age of 91 after a long illness. While his presence is no longer part of the media landscape, his influence remains deeply felt. He leaves behind a legacy built on clarity, compassion, and the belief that journalism can help people better understand both themselves and the world around them. Garth Hudson, born on August 2, 1937, was a uniquely gifted musician whose artistry quietly reshaped the sound of modern music. As the keyboardist for the band, he contributed far more than accompaniment. He helped build the emotional and atmospheric foundation that defined their timeless recordings. His style blended classical training with elements of rock, folk, and blues, creating a musical language that felt rich, layered, and deeply expressive. What made Hudson so distinctive was his sense of texture. His playing was never about drawing attention to itself, but about shaping the feeling of a song from within. A subtle organ line, a carefully placed piano phrase, or a haunting keyboard passage could shift the entire mood of a track. That restraint, paired with imagination, gave the band's music its depth and character. Behind his creativity was a serious and disciplined approach to music. Hudson studied theory in depth and treated his craft with patience and curiosity. This foundation allowed him to move fluidly across genres while maintaining a signature sound that was both precise and soulful. His influence can be heard not just in the band's catalogue, but in countless artists who followed. He passed away at the age of 87, leaving behind a legacy defined by subtle brilliance rather than spotlight fame. His contributions continue to echo through generations of listeners who discover new layers each time they return to the music. Garth Hudson's work stands as a reminder that some of the most powerful artistry lives quietly within the details, shaping emotion in ways that words alone cannot capture. Gil Gerard, born on January 23, 1943, became a recognizable and much-loved presence in television during a defining period for science fiction. With his natural confidence, steady screen presence, and easy charm, he brought a sense of heroism that still felt grounded and human, allowing audiences to connect with his characters on a personal level. He is best remembered for his role as Captain William Buck Rogers in the series Buck Rogers in the 25th century. At a time when science fiction was gaining major popularity on television, his performance helped shape how futuristic adventure stories were presented to mainstream audiences. He portrayed Buck Rogers with a blend of strength, humor, and vulnerability, making the character both inspiring and relatable. Outside of his most famous role, Gerard built a consistent career across film and television. He appeared in a variety of projects that highlighted his versatility, moving between drama, action, and adventure, while maintaining a grounded and authentic presence on screen. His performances often carried a natural warmth that made even smaller roles memorable. Audiences who followed his career often appreciated not just the characters he played, but the sincerity he brought to them. That authenticity helped him leave a lasting impression, especially among fans of classic television and science fiction storytelling. In his later years, he faced health challenges with resilience and quiet strength. His passing marked the end of a long journey in entertainment, but his work continues to be remembered. Gil Gerard's legacy lives on through the characters he portrayed and the era of television he helped define, remaining a familiar and respected figure to fans around the world. Josh Marrow was known as a disciplined athlete, a reliable teammate, and someone who carried strong values rooted in faith and family. In a deeply saddening turn of events, he passed away at the age of just 35, leaving the sports world in shock and disbelief. His sudden passing has raised many questions as fans and former teammates struggle to understand how someone so young and physically fit could be gone so suddenly. Born on November 8, 1990, in St. Albans, England, he moved to the United States at a very young age and grew up in Texas, where football became a major part of his life. At L.D. Bell High School in Hearst, he stood out as a powerful defensive player, earning recognition for his tackling ability, field awareness, and relentless effort. His talent and work ethic earned him a place at Stanford University, where he continued to develop both as an athlete and as a person, building a reputation for discipline and consistency. Despite going undrafted in 2014, he refused to give up on his NFL dream. He worked his way into the league and spent years contributing as a dependable defensive lineman for multiple teams, including the Arizona Cardinals, Pittsburgh Steelers, New York Giants, and Oakland Raiders. Over his career, he became known not for spotlight moments, but for reliability, effort, and professionalism every time he stepped on the field. Off the field, he was remembered as a devoted family man with strong personal values. His father described him as loving, grounded, and deeply caring toward those close to him. His passing on April 23, 2026, was confirmed by his family, sending shockwaves throughout the football community. At this time, the exact cause of his death has not been publicly disclosed, and many details remain private. Tributes from across the NFL have highlighted his dedication, perseverance, and character. Though he was never defined by fame, his journey from undrafted hopeful to respected NFL player stands as a powerful example of resilience and determination. In 2025, Cher remains one of the most enduring figures in entertainment history. At 78 years old, she still commands sold-out arenas, dazzling audiences with the same fearless energy that first captivated the world decades ago. She holds an Academy Award, a Grammy, an Emmy, and 3 Golden Globes. More impressively, she remains the only artist ever to achieve a #1 hit in 6 consecutive decades, a record untouched by anyone else. To the public, Cher represents reinvention, glamour, resilience, and immortality. Yet, behind the glittering costumes and thunderous applause lies a far more painful story. Her life was never a fairy tale built on effortless success. It was forged through poverty, abandonment, humiliation, and emotional captivity. The world saw confidence, but beneath it lived a child who once believed she was unwanted. Before she became a goddess of pop culture, she was a frightened girl standing in welfare lines, struggling to read, wondering if she would ever matter. Cher's greatness did not emerge from privilege. It was born from survival, sharpened by rejection, and fueled by a relentless refusal to disappear. Childhood, marked by hunger and instability. Cher was born Sherilyn Sarkeesian on May 20, 1946, in El Centro, California, into a life already burdened by instability. Her father, John Sarkeesian, struggled with gambling and anger, while her mother, Georgia Holt, dreamed of becoming an actress, but spent most of her life trapped by poverty and failed relationships. When Cher was only 10 months old, her father disappeared completely, leaving behind emotional scars that would never fully heal. Georgia remarried repeatedly, searching for stability that never lasted. By the time Cher was 10, she had already lived through multiple marriages, endless relocations, and crushing financial hardship. Some nights, there was barely enough food to survive. At one point, Georgia temporarily placed Cher in an orphanage because she could no longer afford to care for her. Though temporary, the experience devastated Cher emotionally. It taught her that security could vanish instantly and that abandonment was always possible. The constant instability created deep insecurities that followed her into adulthood. Long before fame arrived, Cher had already learned the brutal lesson that survival depended entirely on her own determination and emotional endurance. The pain of feeling different school became another battlefield in Cher's early life. She struggled with undiagnosed dyslexia at a time when learning disabilities were poorly understood and rarely acknowledged. Teachers labeled her slow and difficult, while classmates mocked her inability to keep pace academically. Reading and writing felt impossible, and every classroom became a place of humiliation rather than learning. Cher grew up believing something inside her was fundamentally broken. She often sat silently in the back of classrooms, ashamed and convinced she would never achieve anything meaningful. The emotional damage caused by those years lingered long after fame arrived. Yet, amid the confusion and ridicule, performance became her escape. Watching a production of My Fair Lady awakened something powerful within her. For the first time, she saw a world where transformation was possible. On stage, she could become someone fearless and admired instead of the insecure girl constantly criticized by others. Acting and performing offered more than entertainment. They provided identity and survival. Every school play allowed her to escape reality for a few moments. That realization became the foundation of her ambition and the beginning of her lifelong determination to be seen. Leaving everything behind for a dream. At 16 years old, Cher made the boldest decision of her young life. She dropped out of high school, left home, and moved to Los Angeles with almost no money and no safety net. Friends considered her reckless, while her mother feared she was making a terrible mistake. But Cher believed staying behind meant surrendering to a future filled with poverty and invisibility. Los Angeles during the early 1960s was unforgiving. She survived by sleeping on couches, taking acting classes she could barely afford, and auditioning endlessly for roles that rarely materialized. Casting directors dismissed her almost immediately. They considered her too tall, too ethnic, too unusual for Hollywood's narrow beauty standards. Her Armenian features and deep voice made her stand out in an industry obsessed with conformity. Every rejection could have crushed her confidence, yet it only intensified her determination. Cher had spent her childhood feeling unwanted, and now she became obsessed with proving everyone wrong. Fame represented more than success. It represented revenge against every person who had underestimated her. She refused to disappear quietly, even when Hollywood insisted she never belonged there in the first place. Meeting Sonny Bono and finding opportunity. In 1962, Cher met Sonny Bono at a coffee shop on Hollywood Boulevard, a meeting that would transform her life forever. Sonny was older, ambitious, and connected to the music industry. To the struggling 16-year-old searching desperately for stability, he seemed confident and powerful. Initially, Sonny allowed Cher to stay at his apartment and helped her survive financially. What began as kindness slowly evolved into emotional dependence. Cher trusted him completely because he represented security, belief, and opportunity at a time when she had almost none. Sonny recognized her uniqueness immediately. He saw star potential where others only saw someone unconventional. He carefully shaped her image, voice, and public persona, guiding nearly every aspect of her development as a performer. Cher surrendered herself fully to his vision because she believed he was the only person who truly believed in her. In 1964, they married in Tijuana when she was only 18 years old. The age difference and imbalance of power were enormous, but Cher viewed Sonny as her rescuer rather than her controller. She believed their partnership would finally give her the future she had spent her entire life chasing. The explosive rise of Sonny and Cher. The early years of Sonny and Cher's career were filled with struggle and rejection. Record labels dismissed them repeatedly, and their early singles failed commercially. But everything changed in 1965 when I Got You Babe exploded onto the charts and became an international sensation. Overnight, Sonny and Cher transformed into cultural icons. Their unconventional style, matching outfits, and playful chemistry perfectly captured the spirit of the 1960s counterculture movement. Cher suddenly found herself standing beside legendary artists on magazine covers and television screens worldwide. For a woman who once felt invisible, the attention was intoxicating. Audiences adored her striking beauty, deep singing voice, and effortless charisma. She had escaped the poverty and humiliation of her childhood and entered a world of fame beyond imagination. Yet, behind the glamorous public image, dangerous patterns were developing. Sonny increasingly controlled every aspect of their professional and personal lives. He managed finances, dictated schedules, selected songs, and carefully shaped Cher's public identity. Slowly, she realized she was no longer functioning as an equal partner. She had become the centerpiece of Sonny's carefully constructed brand, admired by millions, but privately losing control over her own life. Fame became another kind of prison. As Sonny and Cher's popularity grew, Sonny's control intensified. He monitored Cher's decisions constantly, treating her less like a wife and more like a possession. Every major choice required his approval, from professional opportunities to personal interactions. Cher later admitted she could barely make independent decisions without fearing his reaction. Publicly, they appeared to embody happiness and success, but privately, the relationship had become emotionally suffocating. Sonny managed all financial matters and legally structured their business arrangements to maintain complete authority. Cher eventually discovered that she technically worked as an employee within a company entirely controlled by Sunny. Despite being the face of the brand, she owned almost nothing connected to her own success. The realization shattered her emotionally. She had escaped childhood poverty only to enter another form of captivity disguised as glamour and love. Meanwhile, the pressure of maintaining perfection exhausted her, physically and mentally. Endless tours, television appearances, and performances consumed her life. The world admired her confidence, but privately, she felt trapped and increasingly powerless. The fame she once believed would liberate her had become another prison, one hidden behind applause, costumes, and carefully rehearsed smiles. Reinvention. Through television success, by the early 1970s, Sonny and Cher's music career had begun fading as public tastes shifted, concert attendance declined, records stopped selling, and financial pressure mounted. Desperate to remain relevant, Sonny accepted an offer from CBS to create the Sonny and Cher Comedy Hour. Surprisingly, the show became a massive success and introduced Cher to an entirely new audience. Millions tuned in weekly to watch the couple sing, joke, and perform comedy sketches. Cher's charisma dominated the screen. Her quick wit, deadpan humor, and dazzling Bob Mackie costumes transformed her into one of television's most unforgettable stars. The show revived their careers and cemented Cher as a cultural phenomenon. Yet, success created new tensions within the marriage. Audiences increasingly focused on Cher rather than Sonny, and her growing popularity threatened his sense of control. The more beloved she became, the more possessive he acted behind the scenes. Cher's glamorous wardrobe and stage performances came at a severe physical cost as well. Heavy costumes strained her spine, while relentless work schedules left little time for rest or emotional recovery. Beneath the glamorous television image, exhaustion and resentment were quietly building toward collapse. Standing on the edge of despair, in 1972, Cher reached an emotional breaking point during a stay in Las Vegas. Alone in a hotel room, overwhelmed by loneliness and exhaustion, she stood on a balcony, staring down at the street below. For one terrifying moment, she considered stepping over the edge. She later explained that she did not truly want to die. She simply could not imagine continuing to live the way she was. Her life appeared glamorous from the outside, yet internally, she felt trapped, powerless, and emotionally isolated. Sonny controlled her finances, career, and identity so completely that she could barely recognize herself anymore. What ultimately stopped her from jumping was not hope, but defiance. A voice inside her insisted she deserved more than silent surrender. That moment became the turning point in her life. Rather than disappearing, she decided to fight for independence. Cher quietly contacted a lawyer and began preparing to separate from Sonny, despite knowing the consequences would be devastating. She understood that leaving him could destroy her financially and professionally. Still, remaining in the marriage felt even more dangerous. For the first time, she chose freedom over fear, regardless of what the future might bring. The brutal battle for independence. When Sonny discovered Cher intended to leave him, the conflict became vicious almost immediately. He reminded her repeatedly that he controlled their business empire and warned that she would lose everything without him. He insisted she lacked the intelligence and experience necessary to survive independently, but Cher had already survived abandonment, poverty, and humiliation long before meeting Sonny. Fear no longer controlled her the way it once had. In 1974, she officially filed for divorce, citing involuntary servitude, a phrase that shocked Hollywood and revealed the depth of her emotional imprisonment. The legal battle quickly became a public spectacle. Tabloids portrayed her as ungrateful and selfish, accusing her of betraying the man who made her famous. Meanwhile, Sonny used financial pressure and business contracts to maintain power over her. Cher found herself fighting not only for freedom, but also for ownership of her own career and identity. The emotional toll was enormous. She struggled financially and faced intense public scrutiny while trying to rebuild her life from nothing. Yet, despite the humiliation and uncertainty, she refused to retreat. Leaving Sunny became the first truly independent decision she had ever made. Reinventing herself again and again after the divorce, many people predicted Cher's career would collapse permanently. Critics assumed she could not survive without Sunny's guidance, but they underestimated her resilience completely. Throughout the late 1970s and 1980s, Cher reinvented herself repeatedly, transforming from television personality to disco queen, rock star, and eventually respected actress. Each reinvention required extraordinary courage because failure always seemed one step away. She endured harsh criticism about her appearance, relationships, and age throughout every stage of her evolution. Hollywood executives often dismissed her as outdated, yet she repeatedly returned stronger than before. Her acting career eventually silenced many doubters. Performances in films such as Silkwood, Mask, and Moonstruck proved she possessed genuine dramatic talent. Winning the Academy Award for Moonstruck represented more than professional success. It symbolized total victory over everyone who had once dismissed her as talentless or dependent. Yet, even as she achieved new heights, the physical and emotional costs continued accumulating. Cosmetic surgeries, intense touring schedules, and the pressure to remain eternally youthful reflected the brutal expectations placed upon women in entertainment. Cher survived by constantly evolving, refusing to allow society to decide when her relevance should end. The legacy of a woman who refused defeat. Cher's story is not simply about fame or celebrity endurance. It is the story of a woman who spent her entire life fighting against disappearance. From the frightened child abandoned in poverty to the superstar dominating global stages decades later, every chapter of her journey was shaped by survival. She overcame learning disabilities, emotional abandonment, public ridicule, controlling relationships, industry sexism, and crushing self-doubt. The world often celebrates her costumes, beauty, and legendary performances, but her greatest achievement was refusing to surrender when countless people expected her to fail. Even in her late 70s, Cher continues performing with extraordinary energy, proving that reinvention has no expiration date. The record-breaking hits, awards, and sold-out arenas matter because they represent victories earned through relentless struggle rather than privilege. Behind every glamorous image stands a woman who endured humiliation, heartbreak, and emotional captivity without allowing them to destroy her spirit. Cher was never naturally fearless or immortal. She became powerful because life repeatedly tried to break her, and every time it did, she chose to rise again. Her legacy is not perfection. Her legacy is survival, transformed into greatness.